Welcome to Parenting GPS, navigating your parenting journey. I'm Kari, Kling, the host of your show. It is so exciting to me to be able to bring two very special people today with a very special message. Darius and Courtney Pettway care about kids learning financial literacy. And I have to tell you, before I introduce them, I was a kid that never had any extra money. I had to babysit for 50 cents an hour. I'm aging myself, but that's what it was. Save up money for clothes to pay on layaway. And I really didn't know anything about growing up and managing money and savings and checking accounts and late fees and stocks and on and on and on. And some schools teach a little bit, but I don't believe that they teach enough. And so it is my pleasure to introduce you today to our guests, and I'm going to read their bio. Courtney and Darius Pettway are a married duo that met while attending Auburn University in Montgomery. Post-graduation, they each entered their respective professions, but quickly realized it was not the life they wanted to live. As a result, they started purchasing investment properties and began documenting their entrepreneurial journey on social media, which organically gained a large following. The Pettways realized that their community was very interested in the subject of personal finances because most of them had never learned or talked about it growing up. This led to the launch of Kidvestors, a financial literacy curriculum for K-12 students to teach kids about investing and personal finance. Courtney and Darius, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation. We're excited to be here.
Oh, you know, when I saw I knew I wanted to do a show about financial literacy and teaching kids. And when I saw your content online, I was so attracted to it because you're not just a company out there that's trying to, mass produce things for kids. You lived it. You have this passion inside of you. So tell us, if you would, how did Kidvestors come to be?
Yeah, so a little bit of what you already mentioned. We started our careers when we graduated college. We went to the same university, and we just realized, this is really not what it's all cracked up to be. Like being inside these four walls all day, missing out on important events, begging your boss for PTO. And we're not anti-work. There is a time and place for work.
Right.
So you'll never hear that we're not anti 9 to 5, but we just knew for us there was more, and that it was only temporary. So we really just dove head first and tried to teach ourselves financial literacy because we didn't grow up learning it either. So we were adults trying to figure out life, made a lot of expensive financial mistakes along the way. And so I actually started studying the stock market, and he actually started wanting to get into real estate. And so we kind of merged our different investment thesis together. So he introduced me to real estate, and that's when we started buying properties. And yeah.
Yeah, what she said.
So, when you say it grew organically, it really did. It just came from one step at a time. And so many times that's the greatest way to start, is just follow your passion and go for it. Right.
Right.
Yes.
One of the things that I shared with you before we started recording, and I'm sharing this because I'm sure people can relate. When I first started my teaching career a long time ago, we didn't have, personal computers. We didn't have phones. I couldn't just look and check my balance of my account. And I was sharing with you that I'm not proud of this. And I've since written a math book. So I know better, but I didn't know back then. My whole entire first paycheck from teaching went to the bank for late fees. Because I didn't understand about if you have one late fee and then the whole thing, cycles on top of each other. And then all of a sudden it's like, you have $250 in late fees, and it's like, yikes. Those aren't the things that were traditionally taught in school, are we?
You are correct.
You're right.
You are correct. Yeah, to even continue on to your point, The rubber met the road for us, not necessarily online. It was in our community. We began to train doctors, lawyers, plumbers, electricians on how to be sound stewards of the resources that they had. And from there, a lot of them had that aha moment, right? Even I was in healthcare, and my surgeons would wonder, this is after we had begun investing, right? They would wonder how I would be able to perhaps take a vacation, an extended vacation here or there, and they were having to essentially work. And that's when, this is before Kidvestors, but that's when I taught them the first lesson. It doesn't matter how much you make, it matters how much you keep.
Exactly.
You can make six figures, but if you have that Porsche Panamera and you have that, 4,000 square foot house that still has a lot to be paid off, you still may have more going out than you have coming in. And so just that reality, I think a lot of people are looking to really change that. And so that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I love about your website and your curriculum and what you say about it is it doesn't have to be like, well, first of all, we're going to talk more about this in depth, but it can be entire schools, it can be entire classrooms, it can be individually if you're homeschooling or you just want to learn how to help your child, and to make it part of the everyday conversation, make it part of just talking about if you're going on a trip, if you're going to the grocery store, talking about a budget, talking about what things cost, how to save money, how to have coupons. In fact, one of the things I did with my kids when they were little was they helped me cut out coupons, and then all of the money we saved, we put that amount in a jar, and it ended up paying for a trip.
Right.
So yeah, you can really see it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to dive in and share with our viewers about your wonderful curriculum and what's in store for them if they decide to incorporate this with their family. We'll be right back. Let's take a look at some of the broad categories that your curriculum, Kidvestors, teaches students K through 12. Courtney and Darius, would you share with everyone about just the main categories of curriculum that your program provides?
Yes, so we have 5 core areas of focus: money management, and this is where we pretty much teach the fundamentals: budgeting, taxes, credit, insurance, everything that you're going to need to know day to day as an adult. Then we get into investing, and this is where we believe real wealth is made and where you can really make a financial difference and impact in your personal life and your family's life and future generations. And so we go deep. We do a deep dive into real estate, how to actually buy investment properties beyond just your personal residence, how to buy stocks from an investor's perspective. We do introduce the topic of crypto and as well as entrepreneurship through businesses, because it is an asset and something that can also help make you money.
So to sum that up, there are 5 core areas. Again, money management, stock market investing, real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and crypto and alternative assets.
So important. And again, I wish that every school would embrace, making that a part of the curriculum and not an elective or, once in a while. It's so important. And so we're going to talk a little bit about some specifics, but I have a question for you about those 5 categories. Do you recommend starting with a specific one, or can people start wherever they want to? What is your recommendation?
Yeah, I would say it's best to start with money management, because you need to crawl before you walk. As we stated earlier, a little bit earlier, doesn't matter if you're making 6 figures, if your home is 6 figures and your car is 6 figures and your memberships equate to 5 figures, you need the fundamentals. So I would say it's probably best to start with money management.
And just from looking at what I've seen on your website and what I know, I would say absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit about examples. So let's start with the money management and the activities and the content that children would learn in your curriculum, in your program. Can you please give us some examples of what an experience might look like, what kids would learn in this curriculum at different age levels?
Yes. So one of the things that we're working on behind the scenes that we haven't actually announced yet, so the audience will kind of get a preview and a glimpse, is we're actually creating our own platform. So we've created our curriculum, but we realized that what we were using to host our curriculum was very limiting. So we're actually developing our own platform, our own web portal, our own software for parents, schools to use for financial education. So how that looks is that a student signs in. So let's say they're a fifth grader. They'll have access to the fifth grade content. So they'll have to go and progress in order. So like Darius was saying, they don't have to figure out where to start. We've already set it up for them. So they're going to start at budgeting. They're going to learn, okay, what are my income? What is income? What is expenses? Okay, how do I know the difference between my needs and wants? And we're going to carry them through, and we're going to take them step by step. So each lesson builds upon the other. So we've done the thinking for the parents, so they don't have to figure out and guess where to start. It's truly set up to be curriculum where you're building upon future lessons.
So important. Did you want to add to that, Darius?
Yes. Well, she started with budgeting. We moved from budgeting to taxes to insurances. So, but the fundamental, she's correct, is the budgeting. Is the budgeting. It's so powerful. Like she said, knowing the difference between needs and wants, and being able to delineate and make healthy and sound decisions based off of that. So kudos.
Absolutely. And the younger the child, the more that line between needs and wants might be a little blurred. Right? It's like, a new video game might not really be a need.
Right.
Exactly. So give us an idea, if you would, because now we have an idea of the curriculum. And so, and I love your next step of the platform so that you can really have kids experience things to a high level. What are some examples of what maybe a first grader or a kindergartner might do, maybe a middle schooler, maybe a high schooler? What are some brief examples that you might be able to share?
Yeah, so for example, one of the activities maybe for a first grader is that we're still going to teach budgeting, and the concept of needs and wants doesn't change, but how you teach that to a first grader is different than a 12th grader. So a first grader could be, okay, here's a list of pictures. This is a toy. This is food to eat. Which one is a need versus a want? So we're still teaching that same concept, but how we teach it just evolves depending on the grade level. So of course it'll be a little more mature and more advanced, but for the little babies, we gotta, break it down to their level. And we actually go as young as pre-K. So even pre-K, we're teaching them, what is a quarter? What does a quarter look like? How much is a quarter's worth? Let's trace the letter Q, because quarter starts with the letter Q. So we're still planting those seeds, even pre-K. So like our 3-year-old knows the difference between a penny and a dime and a quarter and a nickel, because that's where it starts. You got to plant the seeds and they learn the value of money. So examples.
Yeah.
And what would that look like? Give us an example, if you would, from your money management curriculum for an older child, maybe middle school or high school.
Yeah, so like, for example, one of the lessons in money management for high school is credit. So we're teaching them, what is credit? How do you build it responsibly? How do you leverage it to your benefit? Not necessarily to go to the mall and run up your credit card to buy a bunch of clothes, but how to use credit. Then we have a credit card activity. So we'll show them a mock credit card statement. They need to analyze the statement. What's the due date? What's the credit line? What's the balance? What is the minimum that I need to pay? How do I make sure that I don't spend more than I can truly afford? So those are the type of things that we're teaching for our older students, a little more in depth. And so whereas the younger students, we're teaching them credit, but the activities just might be a little more simple than an 11th or 12th grader.
Yeah.
So you're really focusing on being developmentally appropriate.
Correct. Yes.
The pedagogy is absolutely vital as sort of the one of the pedagogical background. It's important that you get that right. right? It's important that we understand that there are levels. And as we get older, we tend to make it more dense. And at the same time, we're open-handed, meaning that our software, our learning management software is self-paced. So ultimately, the teacher decides how fast he or she wants to go. If they feel like they want to go back over a lesson, they have the right, the authority, and the access to the software to do that. But that's probably the most important part about it, because all classrooms are different, and we want to be able to serve every classroom and every type of child.
And if I can add to that, the reason why we even brand ourselves as a curriculum is because there's financial education out there, but it's usually one-off topics. So you might learn it once in your high school career, but we think it will stick and you will retain it more when you hear it over and over and over again. So just like math, you start learning 1 + 1, then you move on to multiplication, then you move on to division, then you go eventually into algebra. If you continue, go into calculus. We believe financial education be the same way. It shouldn't be just a one class.
Exactly. And it's part of our lives, so the kids can have experiences every day. If the parents are kind of in tune to, even, hey, here's our electric bill, let's look and see what it says. And what does this little graph mean? We used a lot more electricity this month than we did last month. And so just bringing it to the forefront, and your program is really doing such a beautiful job with that. When we come back, we're going to look at a second part of your curriculum, a second area about the stock market. We'll be right back. In the last segment, Darius and Courtney, you shared with us about your money management curriculum. And I know there's so much more on there that we didn't even have a chance to really talk about in depth. But I want to also explore your stock market curriculum, so parents have an idea of how children, not all parents even know how to do the stock market, and where do I start and how do I learn. But through your curriculum, they can teach their children, and their children can learn and maybe even teach them. Would you share with us to begin about the categories within your stock market curriculum?
Yes. So our stock market investing curriculum is for the slightly older kids. So just to put that out there, I wouldn't necessarily try teaching your first grader stocks just yet, unless that you think they can handle it. But again, we always start from the perspective as if someone's coming to our platform knowing nothing. So we start off by saying, okay, what is a stock? What is it? Okay, it's when you own equity, or when you own a portion of a company through equity. Of course, we simplify it in a way that kids can understand. We try to avoid using a lot of difficult jargon. We use a lot of stories and analogies and things of that nature to explain it. But we start off telling them, what is a stock? We start off telling them, okay, well, what is a brokerage account? How do you actually go through the process of purchasing stocks? We go through the different investment accounts out there, like retirement accounts, IRAs. We go through, the different indexes out there, the indices out there. What else do we talk about? We talk about the different types. We go through, the difference between buying an individual stock or an index fund or an ETF. We go through those differences so they know what they're buying and why.
And my guess is also long-term, short-term, when to buy, when to sell. Of course, nobody really ever figures that out, right? None of us are mind readers, but having an idea of the why, why are you buying that stock? Is it something that you think will grow? Is it something you think something's going to happen with the company, and you want to try to, make it more short-term? What would some of those examples look like for, you just gave us an example of like the terminology. What would kids actually be doing if they're going through your program, learning about the stock market?
Yeah, so for our older kids on our platform that we're actually developing, we're actually going to have simulations. So they'll actually be able to buy stocks with fake money, of course, not real money, virtual money. So as they're navigating our platform, they're actually earning virtual cash. And so with that virtual cash, not only will they pay bills and things of that nature, we're actually going to show them how to invest. So we'll have a mock brokerage account. We'll have real live data. So whatever Google is worth at that time when the stock market opens, that's what's going to show on our platform, because we want them to actually simulate and act like they are buying stocks. And so we even have a free guide right now, which I'm glad you said that earlier. We teach students, we always say we don't want to just give them a fish, we want to teach them how to fish. So we're teaching them to be long-term investors. We are long-term investors ourselves. We're not, although trading is good, it's not the best long-term strategy to build wealth, because the whole point is to benefit from the appreciation and the compound interest. And so we teach them how to analyze, how to research companies. Like you said, why are you buying this stock? Why don't you start by picking a few companies and researching them? We're giving them resources and actual URLs and places to go do that research, even though they're on our platform, so they can actually put into practice what they're researching and invest on our platform.
And it's probably really important to highlight the importance of using culturally relevant terms. Say, for instance, if I brought up index funds, right? It's a collection of generally well-performing stocks, right? But if I were to bring that up, they would be like, what are you talking about? But if I said an index fund is similar to an all-star game, right? You have a collection of all-star players, right? So if one goes down, your team is still able to be successful because you have multiple all-stars. So the same thing applies to index fund. Even if one fund does not do as well, because you have other generally well-performing stocks, you tend to have a successful portfolio. So it's absolutely vital to use cultural relevance in order to get through to our youth and to make sure our content is engaging and exciting.
And I believe that's one of the things that make us very unique, is the cultural relevant terms that we're using to explain finance.
Absolutely. If somebody would have said to me index funds when I was, even in college, I would have thought index cards. I mean, because one of the things that we know about learning for anybody, no matter how old they are, no matter what language they speak, no matter what cultural experiences they have, is that if we want kids and adults, but we're talking about kids here, to really grasp new information, we have to connect it to their prior experiences. Otherwise, your brain is going, what do I do with this information? This isn't anchored into anything that I already know. So, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's a great point. It's a really great point. And we're not going to have the time to talk about it today, but I know one of the things that is in your real estate part of your curriculum is teaching kids how to buy real estate even before they're 18 by putting it in the name of somebody older. Would one of you like to just make a quick comment about what that's all about?
Yeah, so we're teaching them how to analyze and be prepared to and buy investment properties. So when they are old enough, they can actually buy it themselves. Now, obviously, they're minors. They cannot go to the title company and sign any paperwork. But what we've taught when we were investing in real estate, what we would teach parents is that here is a way to pass down property to your children. You would still be the primary owner, but when they get the age of majority, depending on the state, it's 18 or 21. If you want to, if you think the child's mature enough, you can pass that on to your child. We can get into trusts as well, where you can make your child the beneficiary. There's a lot of things you can do it. We're not saying, hey, you can go out there and buy a property right now at 15, but we do want to teach them, and our curriculum is about exposure. We want to expose them, okay, this is how you can start looking at real estate beyond just a home to live in. It's also another way to build wealth in addition to the stock market.
Absolutely, because you can't know what you don't know, right? If you don't, if you're not even exposed to it, then you don't even know that it's something you should know.
Right.
Anyway, we have some questions from some of our viewers that I'm going to ask you. in our next segment. And I'm sure that there are lots more questions out there, but we only have 2 for today. So when we come back after the break, I'm going to ask you to respond to them. Thank you. This is the part of the show that we try to answer your questions so that we can help you reach your parenting destination. And we have 2 questions today. And our first question is from Paul in Reno. And Paul writes, my children are in the 6th and 8th grade. I haven't done much with them in terms of financial literacy. And really all they've done is what they've done in school. Is it too late for me to help them to begin with your curriculum, and where would I begin?
Well, that is the whole point of Kidvestors, is that we are a complement to advisors, to teachers, but also a good resource for parents. Kidvestors is just as much as for parents that it is for kids. So you don't feel like you have to have your Series 7 or be a financial expert to help your students learn financial literacy. Your 6th and 8th grader, I would definitely recommend starting with our money management curriculum. And then again, we help you through the steps. So you don't have to necessarily choose where to start. We're going to start them with the fundamentals. So they're going to learn budgeting, the very first thing, especially if they don't know much. They want to know those fundamentals. So then we'll move them on to taxes, because everyone has to pay taxes, whether you like it or not.
Right.
So we're going to teach them how to incorporate that. Then we'll move on to credit, knowing how to build up that strong credit profile so you can, buy that investment property, so you can, get funding for your business if necessary one day if they want to be an entrepreneur. So we help go through those steps and we do the groundwork for you.
Excellent. Did you want to say something on that, Darius? Or
it's just, I want to comfort every parent, every teacher. We start at the ground level. This is not a collegiate lecture series. This is not a useless high school course. This is intended for pragmatic use, meaning it's for normal, everyday people. This is what Kidvestors was born out of, so we can be aware of opportunities and resources and investment opportunities. So just be confident, especially when it comes to Kidvestors, that you are thought of and you are heard. That's all.
Excellent. And what you just said leads right into our second question. And our second question is from Laura from Queen Creek, Arizona, not too far from me. And she writes, I'm not the best role model at managing my own money. Is that going to hurt my children?
In a sense, I have to be honest, yes. But in a greater sense, no. What would hurt your kids more than anything is dishonesty and hiding things. If you've made a mistake, be forthright. We all can go in the Rolodex in the back of our mind and remember situations where we've had to figure out, well, our parents probably made a decision that was not as wise, and we ended up stumbling or hitting our big toe on that same rock, and it hurt. Why didn't they tell me? Right? So Kidvestors was born out of authenticity and genuineness. So I would say, be honest with that child. Be honest with your babies, just like we're honest with ours about our mistakes. And also allow that to be the catalyst, the impetus, so to speak, for you to move forward in a fashion of excellence. And like I just stated, it's for normal people make mistakes. Normal people are learning every day. In fact, one of my life mantras is that I am a lifelong learner. And as you know better, we do our best to do better.
Absolutely. And the thing I really love about what you're doing and the things that you're talking about during this show is it's never too late. Even if you're, an adult and you're saying, I never had this kind of curriculum. Nobody ever taught me. And I'm not sure where to start. Learn with your child.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So good.
Right. And that's
so important. It's a real life experience. And so as we begin to close our show today, I'm sure our viewers are going to want to know more about you. And again, if your child is in a traditional school, you can still implement this if you're a homeschooler, if you just want to do it, you know, in the summertime, or just have a guide, you know, just for family meetings or family conversations. How can our viewers find you? Please share your website with us and also your social media.
Yes, so you can find us at www.kidvestors.co. And the best way to keep up with us is when you go on our website, you want to subscribe to our newsletter. We send out an update at least once a week. We share tips, free information, resources, just to help facilitate those conversations. And you'll also get updates about our platform, and we'll have something very special for those who are on our newsletter. And then as far as socials, we're at Kidvestors on all socials: YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, every social media outlet out there. We're at Kidvestors, same handle.
Awesome. And so I want to encourage everybody watching this, go check out their website, check out their social media. Their content is wonderful. It's powerful. It's real life. And I hope that anybody watching this will take it to heart and implement that. And so I'd like to close our show today by, first of all, thanking both of you so much for being a part of it. And I would like to close with the motto that you use for your program. And it goes like this: a better tomorrow starts with Kidvestors today.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.